Hi there guys, in this video we're going to be looking at how we can use an Nvidia GPU for transcoding in Unraid 6.9 and onwards. And also, for those of us who don't have a Quadro card, we'll also be looking at how we can unlock the Nvidia card for multiple streams. Sounds interesting? Then let's get started. Hi there guys, so I thought I'd just make a quick video about hardware transcoding using an Nvidia GPU in Unraid. Now of course this video will look at how to install the Nvidia drivers for this to be possible, but also it will show you how we can remove Nvidia's stupid 3-session limit which it so kindly imposes on all of its consumer grade GPUs. Because I often read online people asking just what's the best GPU for transcoding in Plex or Emby? And the answer that's often quoted is a Quadro card due to the fact that it can transcode multiple sessions at once. And so because of this, often a card like the Quadro P2000 is recommended for transcoding. But this doesn't have to be the case. We can use cheaper consumer grade cards that will be able to transcode just as well as the more expensive Quadro cards can. And also if you want to use the card in a VM as well, the gaming performance as well will probably be a lot better than the Quadro would be. Now before I go and make this video, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there saying, hey, you shouldn't unlock your card, it's not fair, Nvidia don't want you to do it, doing things like that just hurts the graphics card industry, blah 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 blah. Well, to those people I'm going to say two things. Firstly, do you have a gaming VM on your Unraid server? Does it pass through like a GTX or RTX GPU? Well, if you do, Nvidia doesn't like you doing that either. They build things into their graphics drivers to try and detect whether you're using the GPU in a VM, and if so, disable the drivers. That's why you get the error 43 sometimes when passing through a GPU to a Windows VM. Now, Unraid has various patches and things built in to stop this happening as much as possible. But really, if you want to follow the rules strictly, then don't use an Nvidia GTX or RTX in a VM. You can only use them in a bare metal gaming machine. If you want to have pass-through on your Unraid server, then you're going to have to use an AMD card because they don't mind about things like that. But if you buy an Nvidia gaming GPU, you're not allowed to do that. They don't mind if you hit it with a hammer and smash it up, you're allowed to do that with your own graphics card. But you can't pass through your own graphics card to a VM without having these special patches. But there's one thing about the patches is they don't actually violate the EULA for the graphics driver, because when you're actually passing through the GPU, you're not actually modifying any code that Nvidia wrote, so you're not breaking any EULAs. But if you unlock your graphics card for multiple transcoding, then technically you are actually violating the EULA for the driver. Should you patch your drivers? Well, that's really up to you. Really, you should leave the driver as it is, just how Unraid and the plugin author intended it to be. But personally, I don't really like buying something and not being able to do whatever I like with it. So that brings me on to my next point, which I'll try to illustrate now with a made-up advertisement for the new Nvidia People Carrier.
I have one right here. Let me show it to you. It is beautiful. Look at this. The RTX, beautiful. It is wonderfully crafted, beautiful.
And introducing the new Nvidia RTX People Carrier, sporting a powerful 2-litre fuel-efficient diesel engine. It has 9 individual seats, comes with industry standard 4 wheels, and it comes in a range of beautiful ray trace colours for your enjoyment. Oh wow, that sounds awesome. I think I'll take one in ray trace red, and I'll come down about 12 o'clock and we'll proudly drive it home. No sir, I'm afraid you can't come down at 12 o'clock. We're expecting more stock in January 2022. I can arrange an appointment for you then, sir. I don't know, that's quite a long way away. I could really do with something now, but I do love that ray trace red colour. It looks amazing. Alright then, book me in for next year and I'll come down with the wife and 3 kids and we'll drive it home then. Okay sir, but I'm afraid if you want to do that, you can only come down with your wife and 1 of the children, or without your wife and with 2 of your children. What the hell do you mean? Why? We all want to drive back in the People Carrier. No sir, you can't do that. The RTX People Carrier has a 3-person limit. You what? I thought you said it had 9 seats. And that it does, sir. And you and your 2 passengers can choose whichever of those 9 seats you would like to sit on. So what would happen then if we just all came down anyway and all just got into the people carrier? Aha, sir, you can't do that. We've thought of that. On all of the seats that you shouldn't be sitting on, we've put a spiked cushion. And that disables the seats that you're not allowed to use. But I thought you said we could sit on any of the seats that we want. And that you can, sir. You can move the spike cushions around so you can sit on whatever seats that you want to. Okay, it seems pretty stupid to me. So what would happen then if we just came down and me and my wife came in and we had the children round the corner and me and the wife drive the car round the corner and then we throw the spike cushions out the window so we don't have them anymore and then the kids get in? You don't need to do that, sir. What you need is the RTX Quadro People Carrier Taxi Edition. For only $10,000 more, we'll get rid of the spike cushions for you. You can carry as many people as you like in your people carrier. I don't know, this all seems a bit shady to me. I just don't see why I can't unlock the seats myself and throw away the spike cushions myself. That would save me some money, yeah? Unlock the seats yourself? You can't do that. We've got terms and conditions. Do you want us to get upset and call our lawyers? What, really? Your lawyers could do something about me adjusting something that I've bought off you myself? Well, I don't really want to upset you. I do like Nvidia. Well, do you promise I'm going to get it in Ray Trace Red and I'll definitely have it by January next year? Yes, of course we do, sir. When have Nvidia ever let you down before?
The RTX 3080. It is beautiful.
So if you, like me after watching that advert, have decided you'd like to throw away your own spike cushions, then let's go and install the Nvidia drivers on Unraid 6.9 and after which unlock the card. Okay, now since the older Nvidia plugin has now been discontinued, to install the Nvidia drivers you have to be on Unraid 6.9 or above. So if you're not already on Unraid 6.9, then you want to go across to the Tools tab here and then click on Update OS. And you can see here at the moment I'm actually on the next branch, but you want to click onto Stable branch to get the stable version. And the stable version came out on the 22nd of February 2021, so it's pretty new. So just click onto Install, make sure you don't close this window till everything's done. When everything's downloaded, click onto Done and go back to the main tab. We can see here now we need to reboot the server, so we can either click on Reboot here or scroll down to the bottom of the page and click Reboot and proceed. Wait for the server to reboot and come back up. So once the server's rebooted and we're back up and we're on 6.9, then we want to go across to the Apps tab and do a search for Nvidia. We can download the Nvidia plugin here, then click onto Done. Then after having installed this plugin, it's always a good idea to stop the Docker service and then restart it again. And now the drivers will be ready to use. But before we actually start using the drivers, let's quickly install another really useful plugin. Back on the Apps tab, just type in GPU Statistics and install this plugin. And then go to Settings and you'll see the GPU Statistics plugin here. Click onto it and set the vendor to Nvidia. And if you've got more than one Nvidia graphics card in your server, then select it from the drop down list here. I'm going to select my RTX card here, and with that done, scroll down to the bottom and click Apply and Done. Okay, so we've got the Nvidia driver installed. Now let's install something that can leverage the GPU. So if you want to do transcoding in Plex, obviously we're going to have to install the Plex app. So again, search for Plex, and the easiest container to install to use the Nvidia drivers is the Linux server Plex container. So just click onto the download button here. So we need to fill in the path for our movies, TV shows and music. The transcode path we don't have to fill in, but here where it says Nvidia visible devices, we have to put in the GPU ID of our graphics card. So to do that, let's open another tab and open up Settings, and if we scroll down to the bottom we can see the Nvidia driver here. Let's click onto that, and here we can see the Nvidia drivers which we have installed in our system. Here I've got a GT710 and an RTX 3080. So I'm going to use the 3080 for my transcoding. So I'm going to copy its ID here and go back to the container template and paste that in here. Now before we scroll down to the bottom and click apply, there's one other thing we need to do. We want to go up to the top here and make sure here that it's not on basic view but it's on advanced view, and then scroll down till we find extra parameters, and under extra parameters you want to paste in --runtime equals Nvidia. So with that done, we can pull down the container and then click on to done, and here we can see Plex is installed and running. So let's open the Plex web UI, then quickly go through the wizard to set up the Plex server. Now this video isn't going to go into much detail about setting up a Plex or either an Emby server. There'll be other videos that I'll release soon about doing that. So all I'm going to do here is point a library to my movies, which I mapped across earlier, and also to the TV shows. Okay, so once you've got a Plex server all set up with your libraries added, we have to enable the hardware transcoding in the Plex settings. So in the top right, click onto settings, and then under the name of your server, mine's called Ultra Magnus here, just scroll down and you'll see transcoder. And then if we take a look at the bottom of this page, you can see it says at the bottom use hardware accelerated video encoding, and that is already ticked. But that's not enough to actually have the hardware encoding enabled in Plex. We need to check the checkbox use hardware acceleration when available. So with that checked, we need to just click on to save changes. But just one thing to note, with hardware acceleration you must have a Plex subscription. So to be able to use hardware transcoding, we're going to have a Plex monthly pass. So if you've made it this far, you've installed the Nvidia drivers, you've got a Plex monthly pass, and you've enabled the hardware transcoding, well, it's time to test it and see if it works. So let's click on the home button at the top here, and I'm going to go onto my movies tab here, and I'm going to play this Back to the Future movie here. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure it actually is transcoding, is I'm going to click onto this little button here. At the moment it's direct playing it, so in order to make it transcode, I'm going to click onto this here and go to show all, and then click on convert to 720p. Okay, so now the movie's playing and I've forced it to transcode, but to check its transcoding we need to go to the Plex dashboard. So let's minimize the picture, and here we can see at the top under activity it says one thing's playing, so let's click onto that and go to dashboard, and here we can see some information about what's playing. Under video here we can see it's transcoding, and in brackets it says HW, which means it's hardware encoding. Now if we go back onto the Unraid actual dashboard itself now and click dashboard here, here's the GPU plugin that I installed earlier, and we can see here that one processor is being used by the GPU, which is that Plex stream, and we can see the active app is Plex. So it's a really useful plugin to better see what's happening with the GPU. Okay, so let's go back across onto Plex again, and now back on the Plex dashboard we can see I've actually got all three Back to the Future movies playing, and all three with hardware transcoding. If we go back to the Unraid dashboard we can see that the processors now are running at 3, and again the active app is Plex. So with the Nvidia drivers installed on Unraid 6.9 we can see that the hardware transcoding is working really well. But now let's leave Plex and go and have a look at setting up exactly the same on Emby. Okay, so I'm going to stop the Plex container for now and head across to the apps tab and search for Emby. Now again I'm going to choose the Linux server version of Emby here, and I'm going to click the button to install. This time we can choose various different branches. I'm going to go with the default branch. So earlier when we were setting up Plex we had to toggle across here onto the advanced mode. Well, we need to do the same for Emby as well, and really for any container that's going to use the Nvidia drivers, because we need to scroll down here and under extra parameters here and paste in --runtime equals Nvidia. So now let's scroll down and fill in the movies, TV and music path, and now let's go down to the bottom here, and again we need to put in the ID of the graphics card. So to do that I'm going to open up another tab on the settings page and scroll down to the bottom, click on the Nvidia driver, and I want to use the RTX card, so I'm going to choose the second ID here and go back to the Emby container and paste it in. Okay, that's everything we need to do. So I'm going to leave this ticked here, start container after install, and hit apply and wait for the server to pull down the container. Okay, so now Emby's installed and it started up. I'm going to go across to the web UI I'm just going to quickly go through the wizard. Okay, so now I'm going to add a couple of media libraries. First I'm going to add movies and also TV shows. Okay, so now I'm just going to log in, and here we can see my movies. Now, just like Plex, if you want to do hardware transcoding, you've got to have an Emby Premiere account. Well, not just like Plex. Plex, you have to have a Plex Pass. Emby, you've got to have an Emby Premiere account. So I'm going to go across and put my key in now, but I'm going to do this off screen. Okay, with that done, you can see it doesn't prompt me to get Emby Premiere anymore. So now we're going to go across to this cog here, go to settings, and go to transcoding here. And here we just want to check, you know, it's enabled by default, but just check that it says enable hardware acceleration when available. And then let's go back to the home screen and try out playing something again. So this time let's play a Star Wars movie. And to make sure it's not just direct streaming, I'm going to click on this cog here and go on to quality. And again, I'm going to transcode it down to 720p. Okay, so with this playing in the background, I'm going to go back to the Unraid web UI. And I'm going to open Emby again in another tab. So now we've got the Empire Strikes Back playing here in the background. And if we go onto the little cog in the right hand corner, and we can see here under active devices that the Star Wars movie is playing. And we can see it's transcoding at 533 frames per second. And we know it's hardware transcoding from H.265 to H.264 using NVENC, which stands for Nvidia Encode Decode. Okay, so let's go back to the Unraid web UI, back to Unraid's dashboard, and we can see that there's one process running, which is Emby, but for some reason, I'm not sure why not, I can't see the active app. I did expect that to say Emby here, but for some reason that doesn't seem to be working. So the last media container we're going to set up using transcoding is Jellyfin. So yeah, of course, back across to the apps tab and a quick search for Jellyfin. Again, I'm going to use the Linux server version here. Click on the arrow to download. Make sure we're on advanced view and scroll down to where we come to extra parameters. And we need to paste in --runtime equals Nvidia. And again, we want to map the locations for movies, TV and music. And we need to put the GPU ID in again. So I'm going to open up another tab onto the Unraid settings and scroll to the bottom, go to the Nvidia plugin and copy the ID of the GPU I want to use and go back to the container, paste it in, and now I can click on apply, leave start container after install checked, and when it's pulled down click onto done, back to the Docker tab, and we can see Jellyfin's running. So go to the web UI and quickly go through the wizard, and the Jellyfin setup's very similar to Emby because it is actually a fork of Emby. Okay, we'll only do the movies for this one. And I'm going to log in. Now, there's a big difference with Jellyfin is if we go to the settings and scroll down and go to the admin dashboard, and we'll find the transcoding part under playback here. And at the moment, hardware acceleration is on to none. And so for the transcoding type, I'm going to choose NVENC, and I'm going to select these top 5 here and scroll down to the bottom and click onto save. And we don't care about this warning. Now, one thing to note is obviously we didn't need any type of paid key for this, so that's good. And now let's go back to the home page and let's play Conan the Barbarian, and let's make sure it's definitely transcoding. So go to quality and I'm going to transcode it down to 720p. And so I'm going to go back to the Unraid web UI and open Jellyfin in another tab. And I'm going to click here and go to the dashboard. And here we can see that it's playing Conan. Now I can't actually see what it says here, so I can't tell if it's transcoding from here. But that's why the GPU statistics plugin is so good, because if we go back to the Unraid web UI, we can see yes it is. And this time the active apps, we can see that Jellyfin's being used. Now I'm sure people are thinking, can we actually use the graphics card with more than one container? Well, yes we can. And so just to show that, I'm going to start up Emby and Plex, and I'll go across to them and play 2 movies and come back. And now I've got 3 movies playing. I've got Conan playing on Jellyfin, Back to the Future on Plex, and The Empire Strikes Back on Emby. Now if we go back to the Unraid dashboard We can see it says there are 3 processes, but again, for some reason the Emby app isn't showing up. I'm sure this will be fixed soon. Probably by the time a lot of you watch this video, this will probably be fixed. Okay, so that's how to transcode using an Nvidia GPU. And that brings us to the end of the video. Well, actually I did promise to show you how to get rid of the Nvidia spike cushions, didn't I? Okay, so let's have a look at that now. So first I'll just quickly shut down all of these containers that are using the GPU. Okay, and now I'm going to go across to the apps tab and I'm going to do a search for a plugin called user scripts because we'll need that. I've already got it installed, so I don't have the install button here. So make sure you have this installed, then when you do, go to the settings page, scroll down to the bottom and then click on user scripts. Then click on add new script and let's call it unlock Nvidia and click onto OK. And now let's click onto the cog here and go to edit script. Now the next thing to do is going to go to a web browser and you'll find the link in the description. Paste it in here and here's the script. So click onto that and click here where it says raw and then just copy this script, go back to user scripts on Unraid and delete everything out from here and then paste the script you just copied here and click save changes. And I'm going to schedule this script to always start when the array does, and so I'm going to click onto apply and we may as well run the script now, which will patch the drivers, and click done. And so that's it, that's your graphics card unlocked. So that really does bring us to the end of this video. Now I really hope you enjoyed the video, you found it useful. Now if you did, then please hit up that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And before I sign off, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my patrons and supporters out there. Thank you so much guys for all of your support. Without you I really wouldn't be able to make these videos. And if there's anyone out there who would like to join these great bunch of people and help support the channel, then please see the links in the description below. Anyway guys, it's getting late here and it's time for me to go. But wherever you're up to for the rest of the day, I hope it's good and I'll catch you in the next video.